They committed no misdemeanor. They committed no felony. Their only crime is being unemployed or less employed and not able to pay the child support, and the judge says, you didn't obey my court order. I told you to pay that $200,000 and you didn't pay it, so you're going to jail. And I've got jailhouse interviews with lots of guys from inside the jail. But we aren't going to take you there. Right now, I want you to hear John. We'll give you John and be back in a few minutes. On second thought, we're here with John Smidler. John, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
John, what happened in your case with fighting for your kids?
Well, my case started a long time ago. In fact, my son wasn't even born yet when my case started. I'd just been married for about 3 years when my wife became pregnant and decided it was time to divorce me. And that went fairly quickly. Immediately, however, after the divorce, there were problems raised. I was, of course, supposed to get frequent liberal visitation, and almost immediately my visitation became 2 hours per week, once per week. And that began a course of events which led to my helping other fathers and helping other mothers get custody of their children, get more visitation time with their children, get the Kansas state laws revised so that instead of being visitors with our children, we became parents. It was a small victory, but we changed visitation time to parenting time. So the connotation of simply being a visitor in one's own child's life is at best very irksome. And while that was a small change, it began the movement that I've been involved in now for about 15 years.
How old is your child now?
He's 18. He graduated this year. He's going to be going to college at Fort Hays State University next year.
Do you have a good relationship with him?
I have a very good relationship with him. At the moment, he's got some girlfriend problems, and he and I are having a little bit on the outs about that, but my son and I are very close. For a 5-year period of time, he was in my custody after living with his mother for 12 years.
What county do you live in?
I live in Ellis County, Kansas, which is in the western part of the state.
Oh, it's the western middle part of the state?
It's the western middle part of the state, yes.
And is that the county your divorce took place in?
Yes, it did.
Was the judge fair to you?
Actually, I've had 3 different judges in my case. The first judge was very unfair.
What was that unfair judge's name?
His name was Stephen Flood.
Is he still on the bench?
No, he's deceased, actually.
Okay.
The second judge I had was a Judge Tom Scott. Tom Scott basically went with what the original judge had established at that time. For example, once you lose visitation, once you lose custody and become a non-custodial parent, you lose an awful lot of rights. And to ever regain those, you have to prove something different. And to prove that there's a difference in what was and what is now is a very difficult thing to do in the state of Kansas. It's much easier for judges just to leave things the way they are. In 1998, however, I asked that the local Ellis County judges recuse themselves, and I ended up getting a Thomas County judge who was extremely fair and who in fact ended up giving me residential custody.
So, how old was your child at that time?
He was 12.
So at 12, you suddenly got custody of your child.
Yes, sir, I did.
Did your ex-wife take that well?
No, she doesn't take anything very well at all, but actually that's immaterial. What we actually did at that time when he was 12 is residential custody was changed to me. She got what I thought was the same visitation that I had prior to myself getting visitation. And of course she was also ordered to pay child support. And again, it was about that time when I became involved with some people from Topeka here who were involved in what was then called the Fathers' Rights Movement. I think we've all come to believe that rather than simply advocating for fathers, we also advocate for all parents, both mothers and fathers, who have had their rights taken away, who have had their rights severed, who have fought a system of law, family law, in which it is very economically viable for attorneys, caseworkers, case managers, to make things as difficult as possible to further dissent among the 2 parents so that they continue fighting. Divorce and custody, child support is a very lucrative business in the United States.
Can you get justice today in family court?
I believe that it is possible, and just as I believe in the legal system, I believe that there are good judges. Unfortunately, I would have to say with my experience and with the number of people that I've talked to over the years, that's very rare. Once again, judges are governed by attorneys, and it is my belief that attorneys do everything possible to promote an adversarial relationship. The best interests of the children, in my opinion, are very, very seldom promoted. The best interests of a pocketbook that's in the back pocket of an attorney is what's being promoted.
If there was a libertarian candidate or any candidate whose primary issue, or one of his primary, was to give 50-50 placement of children, would that be enough that you would ignore other issues to vote for that candidate or that party?
I believe that the issue of parents' rights and custody, and you're saying 50-50, which we've come to call equal parenting, some people call it shared parenting, I believe that that issue alone is enough that would cause me to vote for a libertarian if that was an issue that none of the other candidates presented. In other words, I would want to get the major party's attention. It's an issue that needs to be done.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us?
I would just like to tell your audience that there is hope. There is a way to change things. We all need to work together. There are a lot of groups out there that have a number of members. We need more people as members of these groups, and we need them to be active. They need to contact their state legislators who don't like to get involved in child custody, child support. They need to let their judges know if they get a chance to vote for them, or if they're only retained in office, that decisions that they've made are not popular and are not the types of decisions that should be made. So there is hope for the system, and that's what I'd like to get out to people, that they're not alone, and there are people out there who are willing to help them, and there are groups there who are willing to provide resources.